everyone, and welcome back to my station, Facts Fan. Remember, Facts stands for Family and Consumer Sciences. It's also known as Home and Career Skills. I'm very excited to start our next lesson this week, and I hope you are too. Let's get started. Alright, so today we are going to continue our Foods and Nutrition unit and talk about kitchen safety and fire safety. There's many things that we can do to prevent kitchen accidents, and the most common cause of kitchen accidents is simply being careless. But there are 3 simple rules that we can follow to help you keep safe. Those 3 simple rules include keeping hair, loose clothing, jewelry, and apron strings from dangling. You don't want them to catch on fire or get tangled in any appliances. The next thing you should do is pay attention to your tasks and don't get distracted. And the last thing is use the right tool for the right job. So besides those simple rules, there are many different tips that I'm going to teach you today to help you keep safe in the kitchen and help prevent fires, burns, and injuries. The first topic that I want to start with is fire safety. The most common cause of house fires is leaving cooking unattended. So you don't want to leave the stove while you're cooking, but if you do plan to go away from the kitchen, make sure you designate someone to wash the food and cook for you until you can come back. If something is simmering on low for a little while, you don't necessarily have to stand here for 10-15 minutes. Just make sure you keep it on low. Make sure you set a timer and take it with you. And check on the food periodically just to make sure that it's okay. Another thing that you should be mindful of when you're cooking is not to wear baggy clothing. You know, it could dangle in the food, it could catch on fire, so it's just not safe to wear baggy clothing. Another thing that you shouldn't keep too close to the burner, especially if it's flammable, is your recipes or any paper next to the burner, paper towels. You shouldn't leave your oven mitts too close to the burners, and definitely don't leave aerosol cans like cooking spray too close to the burners, because if they get too hot, they can explode, so be very careful. Something else that we use in the kitchen that can be very flammable is cooking oil. When you're cooking with cooking oil, just make sure that you heat it slowly in the pan. Don't heat up the pan first and then add the oil. You want to make sure that you prevent any potential fires. So what do you do if there is a fire in a pan that you're cooking with? There's 3 things that a fire needs in order to thrive: heat, oxygen, and fuel. So you need to get rid of one or more of those things. In order to get rid of the oxygen that is feeding the fire, it's important to have a lid out for your pan if you have one, so that you can slide that on right away. If you don't have a lid for your pan, have a cookie sheet handy to put it on top. Or the next best thing that you can do is use baking soda and sprinkle that on top. Also, it's a very good idea to have a fire extinguisher in your house that can put out any kind of fire, not just paper fires, but also grease fires. So it's very important to have that and to make sure that you know how to use your fire extinguisher correctly. So to remove the heat source from the pan, after you put the cover on, you should try, if you can, to turn off your stove and move the pan to a cool burner. Also, don't wait around to see if the fire has gone out. Get out of your house and call 911. So what should you do if there's a fire in your oven or in your microwave? I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. Don't open the door to try to put out the fire. What happens is, once you open the door, oxygen is going to swoop down in there and make the fire grow even larger. So keep the door closed, turn off the stove or turn off your microwave, unplug it if possible, get out of the house and call 911. Don't try to put it out yourself. There are several things that could cause a fire in your microwave. The first thing being if your microwave is dirty. If anything spills over in there or splatters, you need to clean it out right away with safe cleaning materials such as this and a sponge. Okay? Also, whatever you put in there needs to be microwave safe too. So make sure all the dishes that you put in there are microwave safe. It should say on the bottom of them. Nothing metal should go in your microwave because that can conduct electricity in there. Any homemade pottery with a glaze on it usually is not safe in the microwave, so be careful with that as well. Most paper plates and paper towels are safe in the microwave too, but just make sure it says on the package that they are microwave safe as well. Another common cause of microwave fires is microwavable popcorn. lot of people think if they put the popcorn in there and hit the popcorn button and just leave it, that it'll be enough time. It's very important to actually follow the instructions on the popcorn box and stay near your microwave while it's popping and stop the microwave once the popcorn stops popping. That way it doesn't cook for too long and start to burn. To prevent oven fires, you should also keep your oven clean. So make sure you clean that periodically. I would use an oven safe cleaner, and I also like to use baking soda and water to help me scrub out any of the nasty bits that are still in there and still need to be scrubbed out. A lot of ovens have a self-cleaning feature on them. That doesn't actually clean your oven. It just makes your oven go to very high temperatures and burn off any extra little bits of food that are still in your oven. You want to make sure that you clean out your oven very well before you use the self-cleaning feature. Otherwise, if there is food in there and it gets to very high temperatures, that could definitely start a fire. There are a couple of things that you definitely don't want to do if there is a fire in your pan. You don't want to try and carry the pan over to the sink and put water on it. Why? Because water and grease fires definitely do not mix. It will make the fire grow very much larger and very fast, so the fire will spread through your kitchen much faster if you put water on it. And you don't want to try and carry it out to your lawn or outside, because while you're carrying it, the fire's going to grow from the oxygen, come towards you, or you're likely to drop it or spill grease on the floor. So don't do those couple of things if there is a fire in your pan. Make sure when you're done cooking and you've cleared all your dishes that you wipe down the top of your stove with a safe cleaner and one that will cut through grease. You don't want to leave any food on your burner, especially if it's the ones with the coils. You don't want any food underneath, because the food can burn and catch on fire if it's there, or if there's grease that can catch on fire once it gets to very high temperature. So make sure you clean up your stovetop before and after each use. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about with fire safety is to not set your grocery bags on top of your stove. Why? Because you might not necessarily know if someone was just cooking or if the burner is still hot, and if you set that on there, it could potentially catch on fire. So make sure you put your grocery bags on the floor or on the counter next to it so that you don't start any fires. Alright everyone, next let's talk about preventing burns. When you are cooking with a pan and there's a top on it, make sure that you lift the lid of the pan towards you so that the steam can go away from you and it doesn't burn your face. If you're opening the oven door, don't stand right in front of it and stick your head over top. Make sure you step to the side, open it a little bit, let that hot air escape, and then open it the rest of the way. If you are working with hot things, make sure you use a dry pot holder. You don't want to use a wet pot holder because the wet pot holder conducts heat, which means the heat from the handle or the pans goes right through the pot holder and burns you. So make sure that it is dry. When you are cooking on the stovetop, always make sure the handle of the pot that you're cooking with is facing inward or to the back. You do not want it hanging over the side, because potentially you could run into it, knock it over, or a pet could jump up and grab onto it, or a small child. So there is a rule called the 3 feet rule. Children and pets should be kept away at least 3 feet away from the cooking area so that they don't potentially get hurt like that. There are also safety features that you should follow when using large appliances such as your oven, your microwave, and other appliances that do use a lot of electricity. Something you should not do with appliances is plug in too many at a time. Something like your microwave or KitchenAid mixer should be plugged in by itself while you're using it. Make sure your appliances are turned off before you unplug them as well. Don't overload outlets with too many things in general, even appliances when it comes to that. When you unplug something, make sure you unplug from the plug part up here and don't pull on the cord. That can also cause fire. You need to keep electrical appliances and cords away from water and heat sources. Keep your appliances and cords in good condition. Never use appliances when your hands are wet or when standing on a wet floor. Never ever stick a fork or a knife into an appliance or you could get shocked. If something gets stuck in your toaster, do not try to get something out with a fork or knife. Make sure you unplug it first and then turn it upside down to try to get whatever is stuck in there out. If you're not able to get whatever is stuck out of there, I would take it to an appliance repairman to help you out with that. The next thing I want to talk about is preventing falls, bruises, and back injuries. If something spills on the floor, make sure you clean it up right away with a mop and a bucket of cleaner and hot water, and make sure you dry it off before you start working in the kitchen again. If you need to get something out of a high cabinet and you can't reach, make sure you go get a sturdy ladder or step stool so you can reach up there without getting hurt. I would definitely keep heavy things in an easy to reach place, and if you do need to pick up something heavy, never bend down from your waist and pick it up because that can cause a back injury. Make sure you bend your knees and pick it up by pressing your knees back up. When you are opening kitchen cabinets and drawers, make sure you close them as soon as you're done because you don't want to accidentally run into one, hit your head, and hurt yourself. And one more thing that I forgot to mention with preventing falls is make sure you choose kitchen rugs with a non-skid backing. The last thing I want to talk about today is knife safety. Did you know that a sharp knife is actually safer than a dull knife? What happens is we tend to push down harder with a dull knife, and what could happen when you're pushing harder is the knife could slip and go into the hand that's holding down the food. So be very careful. Usually I use something like this, a knife sharpener to sharpen my knives. I just run it right through there. And then after your knives are sharp, or you think they're sharp, which you can test after, the other thing you should do with your knives to make sure that they're in good condition is hone them. So it's probably a good idea to get one of these honing sticks and then you just run it along the top, each side of the blade, over and over again, just to keep the blade in good condition, straight, and not chipped. Never walk around with a knife pointed out like this, or swinging your arm around while you're walking. Always keep the knife down next to your side while you're walking so that you don't hurt anyone or hurt yourself. Alright, if you are holding a chef's knife, make sure you put your thumb and forefinger at the end of the knife and then wrap your fingers around the rest of it. That way it keeps it a little more secure while you're chopping. If you're using a paring knife, you can just hold the whole handle with your hand. As far as cutting things up goes, make sure you always keep your fingers away from the knife. So you want to curl in the tips of your fingers that you're holding the food down with so that if you do get the knife close, it's just going to graze your knuckles a little bit. Otherwise, you just want to keep your fingertips away. Never ever use a knife to try and open a can. Make sure you use a can opener because that is much safer and that's what it is made for. Otherwise, you could damage your knife or yourself while you're trying to open that can. If you are using a peeler, make sure you peel away from yourself, not towards yourself, because that is definitely a way that you could cut yourself because peelers are just as sharp as knives. To pass a knife safely, do not pass it by the blade. Do not point the blade at the other person. Make sure you have the top of the handle and the bottom facing them. They take it and grab it from there. When you are ready to wash your knives, never just put them in a sink full of soapy water with all your other dishes, okay? Set them to the side, and when you're ready to wash them, then pick them up, wash them, rinse them, and dry them right away. Just never put them in the sink full of soapy water because obviously it's very hard to see them, and while you're rifling around looking for the knife, you could cut yourself. If you break some glass on the floor, like a plate or glass, do not try to pick up the pieces by hand because you could cut yourself. Make sure you get a broom and dustpan and sweep up all the big pieces first. And then if there's any tiny particles left, you should definitely get some wet paper towels and wipe the floor down where the plate broke. That way it'll pick up any of the tiny pieces. Alright everyone, thank you for watching my video today. I hope it'll help you stay safe in the kitchen in the future. Take care and bye-bye.